Hello, and welcome to another compilation of true scary stories. Today you'll be listening to 5 new bone-chilling horror stories from Reddit. Also, subscribe so you don't miss any future uploads. I post creepypastas regularly. Now let's start with the stories. Home alone in a new house, but I keep hallucinating a man is here with me. By rybodatkid. Hi everyone, just like the title says, I've been in my family's new house alone for a few weeks now. My family moved here about 3 weeks ago. It's a really cool house. It's pretty spacious for where it's at. It's got cool features like super nice Wi-Fi, a pool with a slide, and a door system with a passcode lock. It's by far the coolest house I've ever lived in. Anyways, I haven't had a lot of irrational fear in my life. I believe in ghosts and spirits, but I've never had first-hand encounters with them. I think most stories people tell aren't real, and I wonder if mine is. I don't know if it is, but I figured I would share some details. The first night I got here I had to take a 5-hour flight, so I was pretty tired by the time I got home. When I got to the new house I looked around for a little bit, called my dad, he told me which one was my room, and I came in and went to sleep. I woke up at like 3 a.m. with my door wide open and lights on all over the house. I was pretty sure I had turned at least some of the lights off, so I was kind of anxious, but I also figured it could have just been my mind making it up. I got up, turned off the hallway light, closed the door, and turned off the light in my room. I'm gonna be honest with you, I didn't want to go all around the house, because I'm a wuss. The next day I had no problems. I bought a pizza and chilled out by the pool. I was loving living in this mini mansion by myself. A few more days went by and one night I was watching Moon Knight in my living room when I fell asleep on the couch. I woke up naturally at about 2 a.m. on the recliner chair. The lights were off this time rather than on, and I knew I had left them on. I sat there for a moment and then realized there was something moving in the kitchen. I watched in terror as I saw a bald man walking across the kitchen. He had an abnormally large head, almost like a light bulb, with this grinning smile. The room was illuminated only by the glass screen door to the right of the kitchen. He just started walking back and forth through my kitchen. My heart was pounding. My phone was dead because I fell asleep and I just stared, holding my breath, holding myself completely still, doing my best to hold back my shivers. He kept walking back and forth, opening drawers. He did this for about 10 minutes until he looked over at me and then walked out of the house. When he left I sprinted upstairs and looked outside, only to see nothing. I figured it was a dream. I went downstairs and checked the door. Yup, the automatic lock is good. There's no way anyone could have gotten in or out. At midnight my passcode lock refuses entry and you have to have the physical key to get in. I chalked it up to a hallucination and went to bed. The next night I had been playing some video games online with a buddy of mine. We were having fun until I walked down at about 11 p.m. only to see the front door wide open. I had left earlier to go get some food, but I remembered closing it when I came home. I was unnerved by this, but still thought not a lot of it. I went to sleep at about 11 p.m. that night. I was sleeping normally until I woke up at 3 a.m. again to see the lights on outside my room. I swore I had turned them off. I heard footsteps outside walking up and down my hallway. I sat in horror again, lying in my bed, trying not to make a noise. I had thought maybe someone had really gotten into my house when I had left the door open. However, the lights turned off, and nobody left the house because I would have heard it out the window, so once again I figured it was just my mind playing tricks on me. This brings us to last night, well, more like this morning. Last night I went out to get food again. When I left my house I remember closing the door and turning the lock on. I heard the click and I left. I ended up going to Five Guys, which by the way guys, way too expensive for not very good food. Anyways, when I got home, I was mortified to see the door wide open. This time, I was highly scared. I snuck into my house, closed the door, and locked it. I went into my kitchen and grabbed one of those steak carving forks as a weapon and went through my house. I checked each room, turned on all the lights, and made sure no one could get out. I called my dad. No good, he didn't pick up. He is in New York, so he was already asleep. I hung out and waited for a while and figured I was just crazy again. I went upstairs, and after an hour on my phone, I fell asleep. This morning, I woke up in a rush and saw the man standing in my doorway, staring at me, only to sprint away when I got up to chase him. I got up and grabbed the steak fork again and ran after him down the hall, for there to be nothing there. This is what prompted me to write this. I saw him in broad daylight and he responded to me following him and threatening him. I figure he is not real, something my mind is making up because I'm here alone. But has anyone had hallucinations like this? What do I do to stop having these? I checked the carbon monoxide monitors and they seem fine. I replaced the batteries and everything is fine at the moment. From my understanding, it makes a beep noise when it detects a leak and it's not making anything, but I'm going to let it sit for a few hours as I leave the house. The more I think about it, the more I do second guess my mental state because most of the stuff that happened while I leave or enter consciousness, however the door stuff just freaks me out. That being said, I appreciate a lot of people's concerns. A lot of people tell me there may be something wrong with my head if I'm seeing such vivid hallucinations. They may be right, and this has been kind of eye-opening to look into my mentality. For the time being, if I am going to buy cameras, I don't think I will. I believe what is causing this man to return to my dreams and hallucinations is me believing he is real. Last night, I stayed up until about 4 a.m. Many people noted that whenever I see him it's when I wake up. Last night I didn't sleep, and he made no appearances. I checked the doors, and the only strange occurrence of the night was that my garage door was unlocked, but that one I'm more okay with pinning on myself than some mystery squatter. Everything stayed shut all night. I love reading my own mind. By Short Story 1. I love having the ability to read my own mind, and it's incredible to know what my own mind is thinking. I mean, imagine, if we couldn't hear our own thoughts or know what we truly wanted, it will be chaos. I know what I truly want, and whenever I have a change of opinion or a change of decision, I get a new brain and my old one will be outside in the fridge. My best friend doesn't mind at all, and I love listening to my own thoughts as I think they are so unique. I love being able to read my own mind. For instance, the other day I was thinking to myself how I didn't want chocolate yogurt, and I was really adamant that I didn't want chocolate yogurt. It was really going through my head, and this yogurt thing was really important to me, and I needed to make a decision. I made the decision to not have chocolate yogurt as that was the kind of brain I had, but in the morning I really wanted chocolate yogurt. I knew that I had a brain in the fridge now that was the old one that didn't want chocolate yogurt. We had so much chocolate yogurt and I enjoyed it. I always throw away my old brains eventually, and I just love listening to my own voices in my head. I guess we are all mind readers because we can all mind read our own brains. I have got to be honest though, I had always lived with my parents and I had multiple different sounding thoughts in my head, but when I moved out with my friend, my thoughts sounded different, but there was only one voice in my head now. I guess it's better to have one voice in my head. Then all of a sudden I was having deep thoughts whether to have chicken or lamb for tea, and the brain I had at the time wanted lamb. When I woke up in the morning though, I now had a new brain which wanted chicken, and my thoughts kept saying chicken. My old brain was now in the fridge. My friend and I share food and share the bills. We're like brothers. Then one day I awoke with a voice in my head which kept saying, "Need to dissect more human brains right now." Over and over again. This time it definitely sounded more like my roommate and friend's voice in my head. I hadn't seen my friend after that in a long time, and I can't seem to hear my own voice, first time being alone. Then I realized I don't have my own internal voice, but rather I have always been hearing other people's thoughts, and my mind usually makes other people's internal voices sound more hollow in my mind. I have been hearing my friend's mind all this time, and same with my family. I'm worried and scared for my friend. Greed by horrorspookyghost. Right now, there is a thin man in a skin-tight black suit sitting in your closet. His bony knees bent to his chest, his spidery white fingers wrapped around his ankles. He sits there since you began reading this. His name is Greed. Can you hear his breathing yet? Now that you are aware of his existence, if you open your closet door you will see him sitting there. Immediately his expressionless face will smile, and his sharp green eyes will lock onto yours. You may open and close the closet as much as you wish, and you may leave him there as long as you like, but he will never go away. And every time you look inside your closet he will still be there, his glassy eyes following yours. Only you will see him. Don't attempt to tell anyone else, they will only question your sanity. If you ignore Greed, gradually he will take over your existence. When you look in the mirror you will see him standing behind you, smiling his eerie smile. You will see him sitting in the back of your car as you drive home late from work. As you turn the lights off downstairs and you run up to the safety of your bedroom, he will be running behind you. Even if you do not turn to look, you will hear a second pair of steps. There is only one way to rid yourself of Greed. At exactly midnight, of any night of the year, apart from Christmas Eve, sit in front of your closet with a razor in your left hand. You must be alone, the lights must be off, and you must place a lit tea candle in between you and the closet door. Without opening the door, repeat this verse. In return for my sanity, I give to you my soul, use it as you wish, but please leave me alone. The closet door will swing open, revealing Greed, whose eyes are already glaring into your face. He will hold out his long bony hand. Hold your right hand over it and with your left, make a clean cut across your wrist and let your blood fill his hand. Once it's full he will retreat it and place your gift in his top right coat pocket. Then he will stand up and walk out of your house, the doors opening themselves for him. He will never return. From that moment on, your life will be perfect. You will effortlessly become rich beyond belief, you will find and marry the love of your life and achieve anything your heart desires. You will never become sick, and you will die warm and comfortable in your bed, surrounded by the ones you love. But once your eyes have finally closed, and your lungs stop breathing, you will meet Greed again. He will take you to visit your loved ones who you have left behind, and you will watch helplessly as he plays his game. He will take the sharpest knife from their kitchen and hide in their closet. Next time they open it, he will slaughter and devour them. He will repeat his little ritual until everyone you've ever loved is lying dead in a puddle of their own blood. After he has finally finished this twisted game, he will take your soul from his right top coat pocket and swallow it. You will become a part of him, and be a part of his game forevermore. However, if you take the option to ignore him, he will never leave, and every once in a while, if you turn over in the direction of your partner in bed, instead of seeing their beautiful face, your eyes will meet with his, and that evil grin will still be stretched over his rows of sharp teeth. A Better Reflection. By Slice Legitimate 8674. Newlyweds Zoe and Nick Hutton were thrilled to move into their first house, and even more thrilled to purchase it for so low a price. It was a large estate that had once belonged to a rich man of some renown, and even had all the Edwardian-era furniture from its previous owner still in it. No one had lived in it for more than a century. The years had been kind to the structure, and from what the couple could tell, it needed only a bit of patching up for winter. Zoe's favorite room was the upstairs guest bedroom that held an expensive antique dresser with a large, ornately decorated mirror. She planned on clearing the room out and making it her home office for her sewing business, at which she earned a respectable income. More than her husband, in fact. One evening at twilight, Zoe was walking up the hallway to her bedroom and passed the large guest bedroom on her left. She glanced at the vanity mirror which was visible from the hallway. She expected to see her reflection, but was greeted instead by a lady in an old wedding dress with a sad smile. "I'm sorry for this. I never got to have a family, and I've been trapped here so very long," the apparition in the mirror said as Zoe froze, unable to move. Then Zoe fell, long and far into the murky depths of her consciousness as Anna took over. Anna Beaumont, as Zoe soon learned, was marooned here on her ill-fated wedding night. She didn't tell Zoe more than this, not wanting to burden her with the awful details. Zoe watched as Anna took over her sewing business, occasionally asking her for advice. Anna had a modicum of talent for the art as well, and after a bit of practice on modern machines it became second nature. Zoe was amazed as Anna cut out the toxic friends and hangers-on in her life. She got along better with her own mother, better than the real Zoe ever did, and even managed to impress her saturnine in-laws. She lost the stubborn 15 pounds Zoe was never able to, and all without dieting or killing herself on the Peloton. Anna asked for advice occasionally, such as on how to use a smartphone or laptop, or what terms were now appropriate to use to refer to different people, but mostly she got along in the today's world just fine. Zoe watched as Nick fell in love with Anna, who was surprised at his wife's sudden change of personality and new knack for domesticity. Anna found all the time in the world to devote to her beloved husband despite her hectic schedule, and she felt the blossoming of an ever-deepening love between him and Anna, despite the latter trying her best to blunt the effect on Zoe's feelings. Zoe vaguely felt, as much as she now could, her belly swell with pregnancy as Anna carried Nick's child in her womb. They named their son Thomas. Thomas Hutton. The name of Anna's long-lost husband. A memento of a life never lived. Zoe fought and screamed like a howling banshee through all this, but slowly, as the years passed, she admitted to herself that this strange turn of events was all for the greater good, and that everything would right itself in the end. As she watched her new life, or rather, Anna's life, unfold around her, she was left with one final question. So this is what it's like to be a ghost? Never sleep in your car on a road trip. By _planch_man. I'm from Connecticut. I was in a long-distance relationship with a girl from Georgia, and would often make road trips down to visit her. I don't really mind. I love road trips. I've driven across the United States and back, all on my own. There's just something about traveling the highways of the US by yourself that's just so freeing. To save money, I would sleep in my car. It's not so bad, it's basically camping, in a metal tent. Makes you feel like you're really rough in it. I just recline the seat back, keep the key in the ignition just in case, and doze off. No, I don't put anything up to block the windows for privacy. Maybe I should have. The trip down south is a comfortable 2-day drive. My stop would usually be somewhere along the Virginia-North Carolina border. So, for my previous trip, that's exactly where I stopped that night. Rest stops were often less trafficked and thus quieter than truck stops. Normally I would have stopped at a Love's, but I was so tired that I settled for the first rest stop I saw. It was oddly vacant that night, with only a couple lone cars sitting forlorn under the amber street lamps. Most likely travelers with the same idea as myself. I pulled into a parking spot away from the others, under the shadow of a tree and far from the street lamps. I figured I would have more privacy there as opposed to being bathed in light. So, I did my usual thing, locked my doors, opened the window just a hair for ventilation, kept my key in, reclined the seat, and went to sleep. I was never interrupted on any of these car camping nights. So I never suspected anything on this one. Then a sharp tap woke me up. At first, I thought I had heard it in my dream. I opened my eyes, a bit confused. Since I was leaned back, I was facing the ceiling and couldn't see anything. I hear another tap. Like a tiny object hitting a hard surface. It came in an irregular rhythm. Was it raining? Was water dripping onto my windshield? I'm under a tree, maybe something fell from the branches. Maybe a squirrel or a bird dropped something. What if a squirrel was climbing around my car? Or what if it wasn't an animal? The thought occurred to me that it might very well be a person poking around outside. What did they want? Were the doors locked? Yes. The keys were in the ignition. I can leave in an instant. Still, I lay there, completely still, pretending to be asleep. Pretending I hadn't heard anything. Hoping whoever it was, they would leave me alone. It was better to not find out. I was too afraid to find out. It was better to stay here in blissful ignorance. Still the tapping continued. I had to do something. There was no way I was just going to stay there. I had to look. My heart was pounding. In that moment, it was deafeningly loud. Whoever was out there could probably hear it. I decided. I was going to look. I was going to raise my head up and see what was making the noise. So that's what I did. What met my eyes sent a jolt through entire body. Every muscle fiber locked up in pure shock at what I saw. The faint glow of the street lamps cast just enough light for me to make out what I was looking at. There in the windshield, staring directly at me, was a face. Someone, I presumed to be a woman, was lying on my hood, her face pressed right up against my windshield. Her face was completely still, locked in a permanent grin. I froze in overwhelming terror. The eyes I stared into appeared to have rolled back, showing only the whites. The nose was turned up, pressed painfully into the glass. The lips stretched wide, revealing horrid rotten teeth. Even in the darkness, I could tell her skin was sickly pale, contrasting her long, filthy black hair. Whoever this was, she was clearly not in her right mind. I don't know how long I sat there, too afraid to move. Finally, I got a grip on myself and shot my hand to the ignition. It turned over, making, in that instant, the most beautiful sound I ever heard. For a split second, I was afraid I might be caught in a horror movie scenario, the one where the car won't crank as the killer approaches. I reversed as fast as I could, trying not to give this creeper time to try anything. In my panic, I remember activating the windshield wipers in a futile attempt to get her off. I thought, was I about to drive out of here with some wacko holding onto my hood? Thankfully, I didn't have to worry about that, because as soon as I stopped, the woman leapt off, landing on all fours. Seeing my opportunity, I shifted into drive and gunned it, right as I saw her reaching for the driver's side door. With my foot on the gas, I sped out of the parking lot. Behind me, I heard her let out a piercing shriek like that of an animal. I looked in my rearview mirror and for a split second I thought I saw her chasing me, running on all fours, her black hair swinging wildly around her. I couldn't get a good look as I rounded a curve in the road leading out of the rest stop and merged with the highway. There, I picked up speed and drove through the night. I did not dare stop again until I saw the morning light. That was all for today. Glad you guys listened till the end. Don't forget to like the video and share with your friends. Also send in your own scary stories at horroxperiencemedia@gmail.com so your work can get featured in my videos. You can find the link in the description. Subscribe for more similar stories and see you guys in the next video.